All right, y'all, back to another video. We're back to another reaction. So, as we all know, the WNBA draft, if you haven't seen a reaction to it, make sure you guys go check that out. The WNBA draft was last week. I believe we could say now it was last week that a Clarkie, first frame is a Clarkie, by the way, that Caitlin Clark got drafted into the WNBA. We are here to see who are the winners and the losers of the draft according to Max Power 24/7. I don't want to call him the Woj of women's basketball, but he knows his stuff. So, that being said, let's get into it.
WNBA draft concluded a few days ago. Today I'll give my thoughts on the selections and grade the teams accordingly. I give Phoenix an F. Their two draft picks were Charisma Osborne and Jazz Shelley, two people that most likely won't make it past training camp. But that's not why I gave them an F. They get an F for trading away the third pick earlier this season. They made a short-term decision that...
Why did they do that? That was Cardoso's. So they traded their third pick for Morgan Birch when they could have had Cardoso's with. They could have had Cardoso with Brianna Turner and Diana Taurasi.
Will have long-term consequences. They could have had Rikia or Cardoso. Instead, they rushed to make a win-now team, a team that has zero chance of beating the Aces or Liberty in a playoff series. And honestly, they would be lucky to get past a team like Dallas. Indiana had one job, get Caitlin Clark, and that's exactly what they did.
They had one job.
I appreciate the Fever for not wasting
get it done.
The entire draft clock. In the second round, they drafted Celeste Taylor. Nika Mule was drafted right before her. I wonder if that's who Indiana really wanted, but I guess we'll never know. If Celeste Taylor improves her jump shot, this could be a valuable second-round pick. I imagine her and Leilani Correa will be battling for the last roster spot. I give Indiana an A. They did the obvious thing, which was get Caitlin Clark, and they got a guard that can potentially help out Caitlin on both ends of the floor. The Sparks traded their 2026 first-rounder for a role player and the fourth pick in the draft.
Yeah, I would say so.
And that ended up turning into Rikia Jackson. Her game is perfect for the WNBA. She's a player I could see playing well year one and eventually turn into a superstar.
Yeah, because I said during the draft, she has game, bro. Once her game gets more like pro polished, I see Paul George in there.
They got Cameron Brink.
Maybe a little Kawhi Leonard, healthy Kawhi.
Once she puts on more muscle, I believe she will be a dominant force as well. I'm not sure if Mackenzie Forbes will stay on the roster, but LA already hit the jackpot, so it doesn't matter. I'll give them an A+. They got two players that can potentially become top players in the WNBA. That's all you can really ask for. I have mixed feelings about the Chicago Sky picks.
I didn't want this to happen, Chad. I really didn't. I was like, there's no way they're going to draft Angel Reese with this pick. But I guess, I don't know what you call it, New Age Knicks. Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing. Like, I don't know. I didn't, because I want to see Angel Reese versus Cardoso one more time in the championship game, but they sold. LSU sold. Now I have to see them as teammates for at least 2 to 3 years.
It seems odd to pair Cardoso and Angel Reese together. I'm very concerned about the spacing on the offensive side of the ball. Neither Cardoso or Reese have a jump shot, which could cause problems.
True.
However, on defense, they are going to be amazing. I don't think any team they play will have fun scoring inside. They will also be a force on the boards. But Chicago definitely knew they wanted Angel Reese, which makes me wonder why they wouldn't pair her with Rikia instead. The paint would be a lot less crowded, but maybe they think Brenna Maxwell will help with that because she's a sharpshooter. I give Chicago a B+.
Okay.
Ever felt trapped by endless ads while watching your favorite videos? One click on privacyadblocker.com.
I have no idea what the heck Dallas was doing. I don't understand this at all. I believe J.C. Sheldon will have a very good career in the WNBA, but taking her at 5 is a very odd choice.
Yeah, I didn't know she was top 5. Good.
Not to trade down and leverage more assets. It makes even less sense considering they drafted another guard in Carla Light from France. They used a very high pick to get JC, but it doesn't seem like they fully trust her. Ashley Owusu hasn't looked like her Maryland self, but I don't mind Dallas trying her out, considering they use a very late draft pick. That being said, I'm giving them a C-. I think between Carla and JC they will get a really good player, but again, it doesn't make sense to draft both. They will most likely only keep one to begin with. Dallas, Chicago, and Los Angeles all had 2 first-round picks this draft. Dallas was the only one that didn't capitalize. The Mystics drafted Aliyah Edwards with the 6th pick. This would be a slam dunk pick if Natasha Cloud and Della Dawn were still on the team, but this feels too safe for me. Aaliyah Edwards is a great player, but I don't think she moves the needle. The other 2 draft picks I don't see making the roster. I think they should have either took a
I don't even know who these players
with
are.
Peely or traded for a 2025 first rounder. It's hard for me to give a grade because it depends on what happens in 2025. If the Mystics somehow get Paige Beckers, then picking Aaliyah Edwards is an amazing choice. But if not, then it was better for them to draft someone else. They'll almost certainly be a lottery team next year, which means they'll be in prime position to get Kiki Ariafen, who has a very similar skill set to Aaliyah Edwards. I'm giving them a B-. I'm not going to lie, the Lynx shocked me. I thought for sure they were going to draft an overseas player earlier than expected. That ended up being Dallas instead. I think Alyssa Peely is criminally being slept on. Minnesota seems like an odd fit, but if anyone can make it work, it's them. Minnesota badly needs more point guard depth and size in the paint. But if there was anyone worth ignoring fit for, it's Alyssa Peely. I think it can work, but Nafisa and Kayla McBride need to start passing the ball. I'm going to give them a B. Peely can prove to be a massive steal, but not getting a point guard might cause issues later down the road.
What was this stat line?
But Nafisa and
2 for 7. Yeah, you definitely need to be throwing the rock. McBride, you playing 40 minutes? Oh yeah, it's gonna be a lot of this summer. I'm telling you this right now. When I see box scores like this, so you put up probably what 6, 9, 12 points, 12 points in 40 minutes. Oh yeah, that's cardio.
Kayla McBride need to start passing the ball. I'm going to give them a B. Peely can prove to be a massive steal, but not getting a point guard might cause issues.
Earlier seemed like she's scoring now. You see, that's 11. And then at least a couple of threes. She just running around here just shot chucking.
Them a B. Peely can prove to be a Connecticut Sun drafted 4 players: Layla Lacan, Tiana Jackson, Helena Puello, and Abby Shue. Layla Lacan is getting most of the hype, but the person I'm most intrigued in is Helena Puello. She's a Swiss Army knife and one of the most underrated players in the country. Her playstyle is perfect for becoming a role player in the WNBA. She's a very good defender, makes shots on low volume, and has a high basketball IQ. I'm giving them a C+. I think passing up Deasia Fair was a huge miss.
Yeah, Deasia Fair going that low is kind of
like them taking a chance on Helena Puello.
Isn't she like top 5 in women's scoring?
And Tiana Jackson.
In college?
But I would be more confident if the Suns weren't so cut happy. I'm very disappointed in the Liberty. They lost to the Aces in the championship. The draft should have helped close the gap between them, but it only got bigger. I'm not a huge fan of the Liberty taking Marquisha Davis in the first round. I think being a shooting guard without a three-point jump shot will be too big of a hurdle for her to overcome. It doesn't really get better from there. Their next 3 picks were Esmery Martinez, Jessica Carter, and Kaylin Davis. If they somehow make the roster, I don't think they'll get
so they just some randoms.
Time. It's important to mention that Jalen Sherrod was signed right after the
yeah, I remember her. When they played LSU the first game and Colorado beat them.
Draft. Which is ironic because she's arguably better than every single player they drafted. I love what the Atlanta Dream did. I've been looking at some articles and I'm very surprised how much criticism they are getting. They had terrible draft positions but somehow found a way to make it work. They got the best player available in each selection. Atlanta badly needed a center, but there wasn't one that could help them right away since Kitley got injured. I like the approach they took. They drafted 3 overseas players, all I think were steals. They won't play this year, but that's to Atlanta's advantage. They acquired Ariel Powers and Jordan Canada, not to mention Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard are still there. They couldn't fit a rookie guard into this.
Okay, so the Dream, it sounds like they could make at least to the conference finals then, right? Anyway.
It also puts Haley Jones on notice.
As long as they
she knows she'll have to step up her play, or there's another guard coming in to replace her. I think it will motivate her into having a breakout year. In the meantime, the players they drafted are getting professional experience. I give them an A. They are getting clowned now, but in 2 or 3 years they will look like geniuses. The Seattle Storm drafted Nika Moule and Mackenzie Holmes. I love the Nika Moule selection here. She's a great fit for Seattle. Jewel Lloyd and Skylar Diggins are an amazing backcourt, especially
so she has somebody to learn
offensively. Now they will have a pure point guard who will help ease the load on defense. And they also won't have to bring up the ball every play. Nika should be able to get
Mackenzie Holmes is
a lot of open shots because all the attention will be on Seattle's big 3. Trading the 4th pick is brutal, but I'm not going to criticize them too much because they got a 2026 first-round pick, which is a very stacked draft. I'm not sure how much action Mackenzie Holmes will get in a Seattle uniform, but but they use a late third-round pick, so there's no risk. I'm going to give them an A-. Last but definitely not least, the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, this was like the greatest question mark of the whole draft. How did you let a team that just won the championship get Deasia Fair? She had that Tony Montana on. But how do you let Deasia Fair, who was top 5 in women's scoring in college, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. You have somebody as a sharpshooter who didn't even expect it to be getting drafted, still got drafted as a sharpshooter to play with Caitlin Clark. And then you let it, I could be wrong again, a 2-time ACC Player of the Year, who yes tore her ACL, unfortunately, but still, that's a well, that's like getting a PS5 for $50. Bro, you basically just got a PS5 with GTA 6 for $50. How did you let these three go to a team that just won the finals?
In the world did
How did the league let this happen?
the other teams let this happen? Did they really let Becky Hammon get her hands on Deasia Fair? Are they crazy? I don't care if she's 5'5". There were not 16 players better than her. I really believe other teams will heavily regret this as time progresses. It's insane to me.
You let her on the team that just won the finals.
Stephanie Soares tore her ACL last year and was the 4th pick in last year's draft. But Kitley is the last pick in the 2nd round. Teams were going out of their way not to draft her.
Like, who are these? No disrespect. Who are these other players? And then you got Kitley, 6'6", paint beast.
You got teams
to turn around Dirk Nowitzki. Like, what are we doing?
Like the Liberty drafting people, they know they have zero chance of keeping over Kitley. The scary part is Deasia and Kitley have the perfect people to help mentor them. Between Becky Hammon and Chelsea Gray, Deasia is going to become a nasty WNBA player. Kitley has problems with physicality, but there's no better players to help her out with that than A'ja Wilson and Candace Parker. The Kate Martin selection was very surprising to me. I imagine the Fever are not happy with that. I'm definitely not as high on her as Kitley and Deasia, but I think she can put in some work. They also drafted Angel Jackson, but I don't think there's enough room for her. The Aces' only weakness was their bench depth. That will no longer be the problem.
Yeah, now they got more than enough.
They can eventually have Fair and Kitley take over. Once the Aces' core players get too old to carry the load, they will probably have to end up choosing between Sid Colson and Kate Martin for the last roster spot. I'm sure that won't cause any drama or discourse between fans. Their 2nd-round picks are better than some teams' 1st-round picks. This is easily an A+, no doubt about it. The title of this video is Who Won the WNBA Draft? If someone wants to say Indiana because they got Caitlin Clark, I'm not arguing against that. You could also say Chicago or LA because they got 2 potential stars. But if you ask me who won the draft, I'm picking the Aces. Teams that won the championship aren't even supposed to be talked about on draft night.
Exactly.
Let alone get great players in the 2nd round. This is insane.
They just finessed the league.
To me. The rest of the league better hope Deasia, Kitley, and Martin all end up being busts. Otherwise, the Aces are going to win 2 to 3 championships in the next 4 years. As always.
Yeah, man, that's kind of crazy to put that in that perspective, how the Vegas Aces was able to pull that off, fresh off a championship. Potential all-star players, at least 2 out of these 3 will be an all-star at some point. But yeah, man, that's the winners and losers of the WNBA draft. You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who won the WNBA draft? And I'm gonna see you guys in the next video, man.